Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's webinar from Port to Pavement, Bridging Ocean and Land Logistics. We are going to give everyone a minute to pop in, so head into the webinar chat and tell us where you guys are coming from. I am in the Cleveland, Ohio area. We have more and more people coming in. So excited to see everybody. This is our first joint venture between TMSA and WIMOs. We're excited to have everybody here, and we will go ahead and get started. Thank you for the people that are clapping. I love the interaction. Let me see if I can hit my button. Okay, so a little bit about TMSA in case you're coming in from the WeMo side. We want to kind of kick things off and give a little bit of information about us. So TMSA is the Transportation Marketing and Sales Association. We're a 101-year-old organization inside of transportation and logistics. And we really focus on sales and marketing inside of the industry, but also anyone that's interested in sales or marketing. So we've seen more like customer support people coming in, more HR professionals coming in, and we want to serve all modes of commercial transport. So really excited to have everybody here to talk about all of this. And we're excited to have IMC Logistics here as kind of our member. Katie Hoosier will be here and we'll be talking at the end of the presentation. And then Jessica from Port Houston will be talking. I will hand things off to Angelica in a minute from WIMOS. But I am Jennifer Carpus Romaine, the Executive Director of TMSA, and I will be facilitating today. So I will be moderating the chat. Thank you guys for telling us where you are. Excited to see we have people coming in from all over. A lot of Houston, Texas, which makes sense because we have Port Houston as one of our speakers. So that's exciting to see that support. We have people from Vancouver, Washington, Wisconsin, Florida, Baton Rouge, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, from Houston, Texas, coming in from Puerto Rico right now. That's exciting. All kinds of people all over. I love seeing the diversity of people coming in. So I will be moderating. I'll be looking at your webinar chat. If you have questions, feel free to put that in. We will have time at the end for that as well. Before we jump in fully, we do want to ask a quick poll so we can see kind of where everybody is coming in from their space in the industry. So we figured out where you guys are coming from geographically, but now let's give some time to see where you guys are coming in. So that way we really know, which parts to really hit home for you guys. We have a lot of other. This is going to be interesting. If you are clicking other, if you can put in the webinar chat what your other is, that would be great because I thought we did a really good job figuring out all of the different spaces, but a ton. So I'm going to go ahead. Looks like everybody on has voted, and we're going to go ahead and share the results. Can you guys see the results? It's always fun as the moderator because you still see what you're seeing on your side. So we have some all different kinds of stuff: product enablement and technology, marketing, meteorologist, risk communicator, incentive compensation design engineer, marine surveying, marine transportation and logistics, procurement, ship agency. So we got all kinds of people coming in. So happy to have everybody and looking forward to going through this webinar with you. If you want to learn about more about TMSA or interested in joining us, we do have an event coming up in October 22nd through the 23rd in Chicago. That's going to be our executive summit. We have high-level leaders here from all different industry sectors. We have executive peer networking, cutting-edge strategies for growth, and we are giving a 10% discount coupon to anyone that is watching us in this webinar. So if you sign up, you can go to this webinar at the bottom or scan the QR code, and you can put Port to Pave 10 to get your discount code for that. If you have any questions about TMSA, you can always reach out to me, Jennifer at tmsatoday.org. And now I'm going to hand things over to I had one more slide I forgot. hold on. I thought I just had my end slide. So if you just want to hear more about TMSA, hear more from our awesome members, we do have a weekly podcast. We've been on summer break, but we are kicking back off next week. And that is Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time, and it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, LinkedIn, YouTube, and tmsatoday.org. So I interview all different people who are inside TMSA, people who are speaking at TMSA, thought leaders in the industry. It's a really cool show. I'm excited to be back on the air next week. And now I'm going to hand things over to Angelica, who was my last interview before we went on summer break. So if you do want to check out more about TMSA and WIMOs too, go ahead and check out her episode. Now I will hand things over to her to take over and talk about WIMOs.
Hi, everyone. Okay, can you see my screen all right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, awesome. So my name is Angelica Brooks. I'm the Director of Communications, Marketing, and Events for WIMOs. I'm our only full-time employee. So if you've received an email, you've seen our social media, you've checked out our website, if you've attended one of our fundraising events, then I am normally the face behind a lot of those things. I help out a lot with our events and pretty much a lot of things WIMOs. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. I know we have a lot of WIMOs members on here. I see the names, I recognize y'all, so hello. We're gonna do a quick overview of our organization, either for you to learn something a little new that you didn't know, and for the people who are joining who are outside of our organization. Welcome. So WIMOS stands for Women in Maritime Operations, WIMOS. That's our name shortened. So we are dedicated to recruiting, retaining, advancing, and promoting women in the maritime industry through sharing knowledge and continuing education. So just a quick overview of some of our statistics. Our membership count consists of just under 1,200 members. Currently, our largest chapter is in Houston. So I saw a lot of Houston in the chat. They currently have about 424 members. We have 51 corporate memberships and companies accounting for, okay, so we have 51 corporate membership, which is accounting for 732 out of our 1,162 members. So to date, we have 2 annual sponsors, including we have 3, Ingram Barge Company, Marine Log, and ACBL. So thank you to our sponsors. As far as locations, we have 15 chapters and C chapters. So our formal chapters have an elected board of directors, and our C chapters, they have champions and they host events, but they don't have an elected board of directors yet. We are located in 31 different US states and 3 countries. So currently Nigeria is the only country where we have a lot of momentum going, where we're in the process of formalizing a board. So WIMOS is rapidly growing. With our elected chapters and our national board, we have 32 board of directors, a part-time employee, full-time employee, and several different committees that help our organization run. Last year, we hosted the most events we've ever had before. We had 124 different in-person, oh, okay, sorry. I was looking at the next slide. So the way our organization works and how we make a difference is we host events, we have a mentoring program, and then we have junior chapters. So as far as the events, last year we hosted the most events we've ever had before. So we hosted 124 different events, whether that was in person or virtual. Of those events in that category, 30.6% of them were dedicated to different social events. So social could be recruiting, it could be networking, it could be physical fitness activities, anything in that social to get people together and to network and meet other people. So, and then we had just under 30% that were dedicated to philanthropic and industry events. So industry events could be conferences, it could be other sporting tournaments for other organizations within the maritime industry. And then just under half of our events were towards educational and leadership. So maritime education, and then leadership, whether that's, like headshots or, business etiquette, things of that nature to help you in the workspace. So another way we make a difference is through our mentoring program, which was established in 2023. All of our mentors are WIMOs members, and our proteges, it's our way of trying to connect with other women who are either working in the industry or interested in the industry. So you do not have to be a WIMOs member in order to join the mentoring program. You just have to be a woman who's interested or currently working in the industry. And then lastly, the way we are striving to make a difference is through our junior chapters. So we currently have a formalized junior chapter at Texas A&M University at Galveston. They have about 20 members, and they host events very similar to how our chapters host events, where they have lunch and learns, they're touring facilities, they have speaker engagement events, and it's our way of really working on this pipeline of being able to get more students into the maritime industry after they graduate. So all of the students at Texas A&M at Galveston are majoring in various maritime focused education courses, whether that's maritime business, if that's shipping, etc. We currently have 3 annual fundraisers. Our next one coming up is the golf tournament, which will be in New Orleans on October 8th. We only have about 8 teams left. So if you are interested in joining, please check out our website, wimos.org, in order to learn more about our golf tournament that's coming up. And then we also have karaoke night coming up on December 10th in Paducah. So the difference we make, this is from our 2024 impact survey. We are going to have another survey early next year, so we're excited to be able to do this every other year. But from our survey last year, we learned that 78% of our members reported that they are more likely to attend industry events because of WIMOs, and 89% of our members plan to stay in the maritime industry for the next year because of WIMOs. So we're really excited that from our survey, we're learning that our efforts at recruiting, retaining, advancing, and promoting women in the industry is actually making a difference. And that's a little bit about us. So thank you so much for giving me a moment of your time, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of the presentations. Sorry, I have to figure out how to stop sharing my screen.
Okay, and next up we will have Jessica from Port Houston.
All right. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for having me today. I am Jessica Nguyen from the trade development team here at Port Houston. I'm also one of the local chapter officers here in Houston. I am the currently treasurer, so thank you for electing me. Team Houston, appreciate it. So I am serving my first year's term now. So if you have any questions with WIMOs, I can definitely help out here locally. We have a lot of events coming up as well. So keep up with the website or the emails and let us know. So we're going to jump right into Port Houston. I've got quite a bit of slides, but I won't spend a lot of time on them. They're just mostly just kind of guidance and some pictures for you guys to take a look at. So let me get to the next one. All right. So the channel itself, we sit along the Houston Ship Channel, and it's really an important part of our business. So without it, globally, if we didn't have the channel, we wouldn't have the port, there wouldn't be cargo, there wouldn't be commerce, and there wouldn't be jobs. So we really rely very heavily on the channel itself. And if you don't know what it is or where it's at, I'll definitely show you on the next couple of slides. I know many of you guys are from Houston, so at least you're kind of aware of it and where we're at, but we'll take a deeper look here shortly. So once upon a time, this is how it used to look. Back in 1853, we started off with Project One. Mayor Tom Ball started this process where we would designate it as a navigation district. So it's opened a long time ago officially in 1914. It was only 25 feet deep and 150 feet wide. So as you can see, it was very narrow. You don't see any containers or any big ships just yet. But as we move forward, it definitely expanded. So that's a similar picture in the same area. We see all the petrochemicals and all of the businesses that are working along the channel now. So many of you guys are on that call, on this call today. So we'll continue through the slides. Let me get to the next one. So the channel itself is really a big impact for all of us in this region. It's responsible for me. My proudest number is 3.37 million jobs nationwide. So this is definitely after COVID numbers. Before COVID, it was about less than half of that. So as the times change, people are moving in and making that bigger impact, as you guys can see by some of those numbers throughout the years. The channel itself is the #1 export state. We are #1 waterborne tonnage. For example, we did 309 million tons in 2023. It's 92, which is 92 million more than the next largest port nearby us. So #1 export region as well. We've held a lot of firsts for the entire region globally. So this, a lot of information, but the main thing is that we're moving a lot of cargo. The channel itself is one of the busiest channels in the nation. There's over 200,000 barge moves annually. And a lot of that's thanks to Coast Guard as well as the pilots helping to guide all of those ships up and down and navigate safely throughout the entire process. So that's all, most of that, what that says, and they will send this out afterwards. So if you guys want a copy. So what are we looking at? What is the majority of the business that's going along that channel? You're going to take a look at it and see a lot of it's going to be privately owned terminals that are moving liquid bulk, because we are petrochemicals here, heavily focused. That'll be the #1 thing, 71% of that. And then 15% is containerized, and then so forth. The break bulk cargo, those smaller projects, ro-ro vessels that move full automobiles, things like that are coming through as well. So that's what you're going to see through there as the breakdown. And where are they coming to and from? You'll see it's pretty diverse for us as well. It's all, of course, a lot of it's going to be from Asia. We've got it split up because we're seeing some shifts recently from China to Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia. So that's kind of an interesting split as of late in the most recent years, right? When people are trying to get away from having factories over there. And then also heavily in Latin America and Europe as well. So those are all of our major gateways that we're connecting globally for all of the world into Houston. And how are we divided? We're actually managed by, or governed, I'm sorry, by Port Commission. It's these lovely 7 folks that you guys see on the screen currently. Each one of them represent a portion of Houston. For example, their appointed positions, Commissioner Campo was appointed by Judge Lena Hidalgo to lead us, and they are all unpaid positions. So these folks all live within the city of Houston or city of Bayport, LaPorte, things like that. Commissioner Robb, for example, is currently the president of our Southwest Region ILA union. So we've got representatives that live and make decisions on our behalf where they lived in the city, right? So they know what's going on. They know the traffic. They know the things that are kind of what we're up against. And they really come together once a month and help us make those large decisions. So they serve 2-year terms for a maximum of 12 years. And they're really the guiding factor for all of our major business decisions month to month. So now let's dig in a little deeper. That channel that I was just telling you about, it was 52 miles long, but we're going to zoom in and just look at Port Houston's terminals specifically. We've got 8 public terminals that we own. You can kind of see them highlighted there on this slide, out of the over 200 private terminals that are along this channel. So we've got lots of other companies that are along there as well. But Port Houston itself, we actually only own 8 of them, and we're the only public ones. So you can kind of see those mapped out. The 2 that we do operate as well as manage is the Barbers Cut and Bayport Container Terminal, those ones on the far right side. Those are the ones that would lead out to the Gulf region. A lot of firsts for us, where we just got Great Place to Work designation for the first time. We did 4.1 million TEUs, a 20-foot equivalent unit, which will lead into the trucking side here on the land side. But we moved quite a bit of cargo last year. It's an 8% increase from the previous year, and we're continuing on that trend for this year as well. So something that sets us apart from other ports around the US, especially the East Coast and West Coast ports, we're pretty balanced. We're not import heavy. As you can see, this is one of my favorite slides. This is important for us because that means when the ships are coming into our terminals, they're getting loaded as on their way out, which means that the truckers are actually moving export containers here locally in this region as well. So unlike heavier import heavy terminals along the East and West Coast, we're pretty balanced. So that means the ships are making money both ways. So we really are proud of that, and we try to keep that going for as long as we can. So that way we can continue to attract that business being in the middle of the US. So what's inside those containers are going to be a lot of the finished goods. Just a quick picture of some of that. It's going to be some of your fruits and vegetables, of course, produce. You're going to see finished automobiles, computers, the furniture you buy, clothes, things like that. And then the stuff that's going out in exports is going to be a lot of raw material, like resins. That's the plastic pellets you see on the left-hand side, and lubricants and oils and chemicals. So the raw materials are going out overseas, and then we're bringing in the finished goods for us, our consumers, as we import that back in. So what are we doing with the money we're making? We're putting that back into our terminals. We're building extra wharves, extra dock space. We're going to have extra, more cranes, newer equipment to be able to handle the larger ships that come in. So that's kind of just a general information for the next 5 years. But I'll dig into that a little bit further on the next couple of slides as well. So for example, at Bayport, the 2 container terminals that we manage, this is the younger one. She was open in 2007. We're going to be finishing up Wharf 7 here in a bit. We have 5 currently built out docks, and then we'll continue on over to finish up Wharf 1s, and then potentially Wharfs 8 and 9 for deep water ports. So right now we can handle up to 15,000 TEU vessels. And then this laydown area is also getting developed as well. So we want to be able to accommodate those larger ships as they come in the future. We also have a south side, unlike other terminals. Sorry, real quick. This is the Wharf 7 expansion progress finishing up. And then the south side is the opposite side of the actual docks, as you can see across the water. This area will be a future intermodal complex. We're currently have lots of land. It is Texas, so lots of room to grow here, unlike other landlocked terminals. So we already invested in this property. Our truck gates do enter through this way at Bayport, and then we will have extra storage facilities and laydown areas on this side as needed. So jumping over to Barbara's Cut, she's a little bit older. She was open in 1977. She's fully built out. So what we're doing is something I like to say a renovation. I like to say she's getting Botox and fillers like me, because we're demoing a section at a time to fill in those potholes. She was only required to be poured about 8 inches deep, cement-wise, and we're repouring that down to about 18 inches deep. So each section, that's why everything's kind of colored out, but we're also replacing a lot of her older equipment as well. So she's got 6 fully built out docks here that we can already accommodate those vessels as they come in. Because we are the only public terminal along the entire channel, we are the non-federal sponsor for Project 11, which is a very clever name for the 11th time that we're widening and deepening the channel. We actually already completed majority of our portion of the project. It's one of the fastest projects, government federally funded projects in the nation, in history, actually. We widened the channel from 530 feet to 700 feet wide to make it a little bit safer for those ships to cross. So we've just got a little bit more to go, and we should hopefully complete our portion. And then, which is this one right on the right-hand side where the Port Houston box is. And then the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will continue on further into the city, as you can see from the top of the screen. When we're dredging and pulling all of that silt and stuff coming out, we're actually also rebuilding at the same time these bird islands, oyster reefs, marsh, all of those things along the channel. So that way we're replacing all of that and being as environmentally friendly as we can. Of course, it would be not, it'd be behoove me not to mention that we are also very heavily invested in SWMBE programs here. We have a lot of programs where if you'd like to be involved with the port or do business with us, there's a whole process, and there's sessions called Opportunity U, where you guys can take a look at it and try to apply that way if you are interested in doing any type of procurement processes, things like that with our vendors and things of that nature. And then also a big part of our goals is to give back to the community. So a lot of the parks, as well as the schools and high schools, local high schools, and the community colleges out around the Houston Ship Channel area, we do reach out and do a lot of community projects back out to the parks, as well as the beach cleanup. We're active with partnering with organizations like Galveston Bay Foundation, as well as WIMOs. So we are really proud of that as well. And we want to be able to put back out what we're, bringing on over there when we're doing business at the same time. So lots of information on that as well. But we want to continue that work and that partnership with all of these organizations. So if you guys have any further questions on that, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, here's some more information on our social media as well. You can follow us on LinkedIn, as well as Facebook and all the social media sites, or go to our website directly for more information. But thank you so much for the opportunity to tell you guys a little bit about Port Houston. Feel free to let me know if you guys have any other questions. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. We will hand things over to Katie at IMC. And don't forget that you can put your questions in both the chat or in the Q&A. We're looking at both of them. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jennifer. Okay, so it's my job to talk about the pavement part of Port to Pavement. And I want to start that by telling you, story of another trucker and another trucking company. And that trucker is Malcolm McLean. And so Malcolm was born as the son of a farmer, and he spent his teenage years. He was a mail carrier and supplemented his family's income that way, and then graduated from high school in 1931. And when he did that, it's 1931 is in the middle of the Great Depression, and so he wasn't able to go to college, but he went and he worked at a gas station pumping gas for customers and saved money over a period of 3 years until he bought his very first truck in 1934 for $120. And so he drove that truck. I told you that his parents were farmers. And so he, just delivered agriculture products in North Carolina, just him and himself. And so he, after a while though, he was able to purchase an additional 5 trucks and had, other drivers driving those trucks, and had, officially launched a trucking company. And that story is very common in our industry. Malcolm McLean, we would have called him an independent owner operator. And, the 5 trucks that he bought and had other drivers driving, is a similar size to most trucking companies
Katie?
today. Yes.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, well, thank you, Jennifer.
No
I really
problem.
appreciate that. It's a much better picture of Mr. McLean on the screen. You can see now, right?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay. He was a small trucking company. It was just him, and then he had 5 additional trucks. Most trucking companies today in the United States are actually 5 trucks or less. And then I want to tell you more, because Malcolm McLean did some things too that are very different than what other trucking companies did. I told you he was from North Carolina. He was delivering cotton bales from North Carolina to the port of New Jersey. And he is sitting in his truck and he's waiting just a really long time. And they're having to go to the back of his truck, physically pick up one bale at a time and load that bale onto the ship. And it takes a tremendous amount of time. Every bale has to be hand loaded. There's a crane, then it's put onto the ship. So he's just waiting hours and hours. And he thought about that. He didn't do too much about it at the time, but kind of that idea percolated in his head over the last 20 years. In 1950, Malcolm McLean had grown his business. He wasn't just a 5-truck operation anymore. He had about 2,000 trucks all along the East Coast, and was finally in a position to do something about his idea and created a patent to, instead of his truck that, the container was attached to his truck, of a container that would lift off of his truck all in one piece and then be moved to a ship. And his thought was, not for just 1 or 2 of these containers that could be moved directly from a truck to a ship, but for hundreds and hundreds of these containers to be able to be moved. And so what his invention did was really pave the way for global shipping. And I'm going to show you an example because I think it's just really great to see, what people did before this invention. You see, in 1937, this is how people loaded bananas. I mean, there are men here that are physically carrying bunches of bananas. Today, those bananas are going to be all in one container, and instead of moving everything individually, you just pick up that one container and put it on the ship. So what we do today, and how globalization formed in the 1970s would not have been possible without this invention. And I will say that I relate to Malcolm McLean. I think that this story is so interesting for a lot of reasons, but for one, that he was a trucker. And I think sometimes that our value in what we do in trucking can be overlooked. But I think that what we do in this industry, in the trucking industry, there's a lot of invention that comes out of what we do. And even though, Malcolm McLean's company did much more than just trucking as the company evolved, IMC has evolved. But I would say that the trucking that we first did has influenced every, decision and the way that we see the world in sort of a unique way, maybe similar to how Malcolm McLean saw the world. And I want to explain to you, it's a couple of terms in our industry that we use a lot, and one of those terms is drayage. And so that's what the trucking move is. We call that trucking move marine drayage, and we're moving shipping containers by a truck to its final destination. And the term drayage, it originally came from the word draft, or to dray, which really at the time meant a big, large horse who is moving a cart. And the word comes from an Old English term meaning to dray or to haul. So drayage. A lot of people, when I say drayage, they think drainage. And so I keep trying to repeat myself and make it a point to have everybody I talk to know drayage. Another term I think that's important is intermodal transportation. And what that is, it's the movement of cargo between 2 or more modes of transportation. And there's 5 modes of transportation. And those are road, rail, water, air, and pipeline. So you combine any of those 2, truck and ship, ship and truck and train, then it's an intermodal move. Okay, so what we do at IMC, we call landside logistics. Today, there's over 11 million international maritime containers that come annually through the United States ports. And when an international container that hits land, it's our job to handle all the transportation inland. So that could be truck, rail, it could be the warehousing piece, the outdoor storage piece, we're going to coordinate all of those moves for our customers. And today, IMC handles about 2% of our country's imports in some way through those various modes of transportation. And again, we call that process, that move of handling the shipment when it hits land, landside logistics. And I kind of want to, make it clear, this can feel a little abstract about what we do. And so I think it is helpful to talk about specific products and what the journey of that product might be. So let's imagine the t-shirt that I'm wearing. And that t-shirt, the tag on it says that the t-shirt's made in China. And so what happens is that t-shirt is manufactured in China, that lots of t-shirts, enough to fill a container, and they're taken to the port, and that container is filled. And then what happens is that container is on a ship, and it takes, I'm going to imagine a lot of times a common place for those ships to go into would be the port of LA. And so it takes about 10 to 15 days for a ship to go from China to the port of LA. And it will get offloaded at that port. And then it's typically going to stay at the port for about 5 to 8 days. And IMC will get a notification that, hey, a container has been unloaded. We know the exact container number, and we will send a driver in to the port. We have an appointment time, and they'll go find that container number, and they'll match the truck with the container number, and that container will be put onto our chassis for us to outgate. And then let's imagine that container is coming inland to me in Memphis. And so what happens is it's much more efficient for the container to travel by train. It's more environmentally sustainable. A lot of times it's quicker than having to transload that container, although we do that too. We do offer a transload option at the ports in California. But let's just say we're picking up that container and we're moving it to the train. And what's going to happen is on that train, it's typically going to take about 5 days for the container to go via train from LA into Memphis. And then what we'll do is again, we're notified that container has arrived in Memphis. Our driver knows the number. The rail in Memphis knows to match that container with our trucking company, our SCAT number. And so we'll go in again and we'll pick up that container from the railroad. We have 2 days to pick it up, or there's going to be some kind of accessorial fees that we don't want to pay. So we want to make sure that we pick up that container within 2 days, faster, hopefully, if we can. And then potentially, let's imagine that the customer is not quite ready for that container, that their own warehouse is full. They can't take that extra product. They don't have the capacity to unload it right now. So we'll take that to what we call a container depot. And at that container depot, it's essentially an outdoor warehouse where we store hundreds of containers until they're ready to go to the customer. And then our driver will pick up from our container depot, and then we'll take that container to the t-shirt company that's going to sell that t-shirt. And then what they'll do is they'll unload the container, and then have another trucking company who will go and take that product, the actual t-shirt, to the store that it needs to go to. So that's hopefully helpful of how the process works. You're talking about 30, 35 days from the port in China all the way potentially to the store in Memphis, if everything's going right the way it should be, is maybe an estimate about how long that it might take. And then what we hope for, and Jessica talked about this a little bit about balance of import and export freight. What we really want to happen is for that import container, when it's empty, then we can go back the opposite way, where we're going to fill that with and export. In Memphis, we export a lot of soybeans, for example. So hopefully that container gets filled up with soybeans, and then we're going to take it back the exact same way it came. It's going to get on a train and go back to California or another port, and then be shipped, on a container vessel to the other side of the world. Well, they'll unload it and maybe put another import inside that container. And so that's how the system is supposed to work. And of course, we have problems in our industry. Not everything always goes as smoothly as what we'd like. And I could talk about lots of problems, but I think for this group in particular, that it might be helpful for me to talk about how much we need truck drivers. The trucking community as an industry, we just really need more drivers to be successful doing what we do. There's an estimated 3.6 million truck drivers in the United States. That's about 1 in every 100 people. And in 2025, there was a survey. There's constantly surveys to say, well, how many more drivers do we need? And we think about 162,000 drivers by 2030. And that feels about right to me. And so there's lots of people trying to kick around, well, what can we do in our industry to attract more drivers? And I think the most compelling thing that our industry can do is to recruit more women drivers. Similar to WIMOs, who is trying to recruit more people working in your space, more women in your space. We need to do the same thing in trucking. If the trucking pool, the truck driver pool, is about 13.7% of all drivers are women, then if you can increase that to 30 to 35%, then maybe we don't have a shortage anymore. So we just need to share those jobs between both men and women. And I would say we've made some really good strides in that. So when I first started in the industry, I probably started 17, 18 years ago. And I think that percentage was reported more about 5% of truck drivers were women. So we have made strides. We need to continue with that. And I think one of the reasons why we've been successful as an industry at that, or more successful, is that the job has become more accessible, especially within intermodal. So I talked to you about intermodal. Most of our drivers in the intermodal industry are home every day, which means that you don't have women that are having to sleep out on the road. They get to go home. It's possible to have a family that you're seeing on a daily basis in intermodal transportation. And the schedules are a little bit more predictable in our space too. I think also another thing is that's been helpful, and I've seen women drivers really appreciate, is technology in the trucks. Women in particular, I think, are very good with technology, and the trucks are not quite as heavy. So we have all automatic trucks in our fleet, and I think that makes a difference in kind of how moving along the road weighs on your body. Our drivers don't unload a container. Everything stays in that container from ship to truck to rail, and our drivers don't have to do any of that. And so I think maybe intermodal is a little less physically demanding and can be helpful for women. And then also I'd like to point out 2 really great organizations within our space. We have the Women in Trucking Association, and then also the American Trucking Association. And they have groups that are really trying to spotlight women and have women drivers in the news more. They're sharing their stories. They're telling other drivers that what they're doing is possible. They're also, communicating back to employers and businesses about what we can do to make the jobs that we have better and stronger for women. And so I think that all of that is really having an impact, and hopefully we'll get more of that and continue to see more women in our field. And Jennifer, that's all I have. So I'll pass this back to you.
Awesome, thank you. We did have one question for you before you jump. So they want to know, does the 162K statistic include hazmat trained drivers?
162 was I'm talking about the number of truck drivers that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, or are you talking about? I'm sorry, I'm not sure what 162 references.
So on one of your statistics, it said that there was 162K, and they're wondering if that, I think it was on that last slide.
Was for the
Oh, the
2030
number.
shortage.
Yes. Well, no, it's definitely hard. So you're talking about the number of the shortage of drivers in our country by 2030 is what that number was referencing. So thanks for letting me catch up there. No, well, so I mean, it's harder to find hazmat drivers than it is just standard drivers without that endorsement. So, there's drivers that are certified to do specific things, hazmat, heavy loads. We need different certifications for a refrigerated load, for example, and it's yes, we would need more than drivers to do those things. And it's much hard. Another thing that I do on our team is I do driver advertising. I'm the CMO of IMC Logistics, and we try to place driver ads and are always struggling to find drivers with those special endorsements. It's much harder.
Any other questions for Katie or for Jessica? None? They just did such a good job. Okay. Let me just double check the thing. Okay, great. So people are saying, thank you, great job. We absolutely loved having both Port Houston and IMC and doing this with WIMOs. If you have questions about TMSA or WIMOs, I do have this slide up that you can go to our websites and check out more information. This was really educational for us. Before you guys hop, I do have one more poll for you. Where did it go? Pull, 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 pull. Back. And that is, would you like more of this type of content? So both WIMOs and TMSA are always looking to better our education, help our members out, and give more things. And so we were just both wondering, was this something that you guys found of value? Did you like it? Is this something what you would want to do? We appreciate you guys joining us and letting us know. We will send out the master slide deck later today. And if you have any other questions, please let us know. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. We will keep the poll up. I see more people are answering. Contact information. So, yes, we can share the contact information of the participants, and we will add those into the slides and such when we send it out later. So thank you, everybody. And it looks like a lot of people did enjoy. Oh, Jessica, thank you for putting your contact information. And we will catch you guys all next time. Check out for that email for the slide deck. And if you need anything else, let us know. And thank you again to WIMOs for doing this with us, and to Jessica and Katie for sharing all of your great knowledge with us. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.